Good day to all. Welcome you all to SSE E Talk series conducted by Saveetha School of Engineering, Saveetha Institute of Medical and Technical Sciences. I am Dr. Deepak Arun, Associate Dean International Affairs, Saveetha School of Engineering. At the outset, I would like to thank our Honorable Chancellor Sir. I also extend my sincere thanks to our Honorable Director Madam for Madam's kind support, guidance and motivation. I also extend my sincere thanks to our Principal Sir for his kind support and guidance. Today we have with us Mr. Victor Ramamoorthy, partner at Right Ear, Left Ear Technologies. He is going to address on the topic rejuvenation in the age of coronavirus. I would like to read out his brief bio before inviting him. Mr. Victor Ramamoorthy is the partner at Right Ear, Left Ear Technologies, California, USA. He is an inventor of algorithms and systems. He loves to bring new ideas into complete products. He is also fascinated by building products and startup businesses. He has extensive experience in audio, video signal processing technologies, and silicon implementations. His work has resulted in international standards and have received the 1997 Lucent Patent Award for his work at Bell's Labs and subsequent invention. He has published more than 50 technical papers in international journals, including IEEE. He has worked and consulted with major Silicon Valley semiconductor companies and startup specialization in software and hardware. Now I invite Mr. Victor Ramamoorthy to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Hello, thanks for inviting me and thanks for the introduction. Today I'm going to talk completely different topic. The title of my talk is Rejuvenation in the Age of Coronaviruses. What I would like to point out is this year, 2020, we had a great global panic. And we also had great global screw up because we did a lot of wrong things and caused a lot of unnecessary suffering to many people. And I would like to close my talk with a happy news at the end. Okay. The second slide is going to be about my credentials. Even though I talk about a pandemic, I'm not a physician or a microbiologist, nor a virologist, nor an immunologist. However, I'm following and I'm a student of a new emerging area called immunometabolism. I have master and PhD and postdoc degrees in engineering. Statistics, math, and engineering are my special areas. But I also have interest in different areas like biology and also biomedical devices and things like that. I spent more than 30 years. Actually, I left India in '73 and I came back in 2015. And I've been a system architect, R&D specialist for various companies in Silicon Valley. And I also, time to time, worked as a professor in some universities in US and as well as in Europe, and as an adjunct professor in some of the universities in India. Currently, my interests are in metabolism. How do we digest food? What happens to our body? And nutrition, autism. Also, I have other interests like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and things like that. Okay, so let's come back to the COVID-19 disease. Here I have a slide in which I have 20 different statements. And each of the statement, when you see that, it might sound like reasonable. First one is COVID-19. It's a brand new virus. It is also a deadly virus. All are susceptible to this virus. Immunity vanishes if infected. Only a vaccine can save us. Until the vaccine comes, we have to have the lockdown, and we have to wear the masks and practice social distancing. Virus is airborne, and we need to wear the mask all the time. The other major worry is second wave is coming, and if you are in doubt, test whether you are infected with COVID or not. Some people suggest smoking steam or smoking cigarettes or pipe can help with COVID. There are other people who believe alcohol will kill COVID. And then the major belief that we have today is timely lockdown is the one that saved our lives. And also, a lot of people believe China created this virus and spread it around. And some people still believe we have a strong antibiotic and then COVID will be cured. And the others believe that there is no cure. Still, some people believe it is not seasonal thing. It has got a grip on a lot of countries and it has killed millions. But in India, luckily, we got a milder version. So these are the things that a lot of people believe. And let's understand whether these statements are true or false at the end of my talk. So first, let me come to the definition. What is rejuvenation? It is the process of making young or giving our body new energy and restore youthfulness. That is the meaning of rejuvenation. But I would like to add that increasing our immunity and strength is the major thing that is still possible. And I will explain how that is done. So let us come to the other definition, virus. In Latin, virus means poison. But the funny thing about virus is it poison? Absolutely not. Is it living? No. Is it dead? No. Microscopic particles, smaller than bacteria, but behaving like bacteria, are the virus. It is the simplest of all living life forms, but it has got no metabolic functions. That means it lives dormant. There are two types of viruses, one that has got DNA, the other one which has got RNA. Viruses are more like biochemical entities, almost like a seed. It cannot survive outside a host, and it can replicate only if it gets into a good host. Now, we don't want to be a good host. We want to be a bad host to COVID-19. So how do I do that? Is it possible? Is it how much it's going to cost? Those are the things that I would like to discuss in this talk. So first, let us consider how the COVID-19 attacks our lungs, because COVID-19 is a disease of the lung. So it gets into the lung through the nose or mouth and gets deep into the lungs, and you have what is known as alveoli inside the lungs that are primarily meant for exchange of oxygen to the bloodstream. So it attacks them. As a result, your capacity to get oxygen in the bloodstream decreases, which you can measure with the pulse oximeter. And there are a lot of symptoms for COVID, which can be very confusing. If you look at the symptoms chart, COVID-19 is very similar to cold and flu and even seasonal allergies. So some people can mistake COVID to be a flu. It is a kind of flu, but it is much severe. And the severity varies on the host, that is our human body. Now the question is, how do we make ourselves strong so that COVID cannot enter our body and stay there? So a lot of people say there are a lot we can do to prevent the exposure to the COVID. One is lie low, live inside the home, don't go outside. And that is the instruction given by the government. There is a low risk if you stay at home. There is a low to medium risk if you go out in the open air and play some games or even go to a shop. And then if you go to a concert or meet with a lot of people, then you have a high risk of getting the infection. So the main discussion that we are going to have today is how to be a bad host to coronavirus. What the government suggested was, all the governments in all countries, they all followed the same idea. They went for a lockdown. They closed the country down. So that's why people will not be able to mingle together and transmit the virus from one to another. The idea is avoid all encounters, lock down, stay inside the house, don't go. If you want to go, wear a mask or keep the physical distancing of 2 meters. Limit the crowd size. You cannot have a crowd size more than, say, 10 people or 50 people. That is one approach. The second approach that all the countries in the world, they are doing is wait for the vaccine. Vaccination is a difficult topic to discuss. What vaccines do is trigger our immune system by introducing a shadow of a virus so that your body knows that particular virus can enter and it will build up the immunity or protection mechanisms. Now, in the world, there are several companies, including some 7 or 8 companies in India, trying to make a vaccine. Pfizer and Moderna are the leading ones. And today, we also came to know AstraZeneca in Britain, they also have a vaccine. The vaccine will take a lot of time to enter India, and it may be very costly also. Now, one of the things that we need to know is if you take lockdown, it is very expensive because you shut down the country, business comes to a dead halt, education comes to a dead halt, and even hospital resources are not available to the common public. Everybody is scared and stay inside. That's not really good for the economy. The other option, waiting for the vaccine, that is also not a good one because we don't know when we are going to get the vaccination. And the other question is if the vaccination is going to be helpful or, how much it's going to cost, we don't know. So out of the 3 approaches, 2 of them are expensive, time consuming, and it leads to a lot of people suffering. And there is a third option, which nobody talks today except me. The third option is do nothing, but build immunity. This is where the subject of immunometabolism comes in. How do we build immunity? That's a big question. Before that, we need to ask the question, are you susceptible to the virus? Is there a chance that you will be infected with the virus? If so, change your life, strengthen the immune system. That involves 2 parts. One is the body and the other one is the mind. This is the part that nobody talks today, but this is the easiest of all the options. It is almost too easy and costs nothing but nobody wants to talk. They are all waiting for the vaccine or going for lockdown. As you may know, Britain went to lockdown recently, and some of the European countries are also going for lockdown. That is not the approach I am suggesting. What I'm suggesting is build the immunity. That is the alternative that we have to take. Okay, let's go back to the idea of masks. Why should we wear the masks? In order to understand that, you need to take the virus in totality. If you take the TEM, or the transmission micrograph of coronavirus, it is a very small size. It is 100 nanometers. And the surgical mask that we are going to wear, that is going to be anywhere from 300 to 1,000 nanometers. The popular N95 mask, it has got a size of 300 nanometers, pore size. The cloth mask is very, very big. It is 250,000 to 500,000 nanometers. So the virus will not be retained inside the mask. Now, if you compare this to a normal dust particle floating in the air, it is around 60,000 nanometers. That is the size of the masks. So I'll give you an analogy. If you wear a mask and if you blow up the distances, if the virus has got 1 millimeter diameter, your pore diameter will be around 3 meters, 1 to 3 meters. So the virus will escape through the pore. So there is a lot of masks available in the market, some surgical, some cloth and all. None of them have been proved by experiments to be effective. The second question that we need to understand is, should everyone mask themselves? Is there somebody who cannot wear the mask or who should not wear the mask? And is there all the people are forced, if all the people are forced to wear the mask, what are the consequences? Are we affecting the cure itself by not allowing the air to go through the nostril and to the lungs? So that is the other question. So this is the problem with the mask. Now let's go one step ahead and go to the lockdown. Here is a picture of lockdown. It tells in the y-axis, you have the deaths per million people, and in the x-axis you have what is known as the stringency of lockdown, how we enforce the lockdown. In some countries, the lockdowns are enforced only in the daytime, not in the nighttime. And in some countries, it is enforced during office hours and so on. So it is scaled between 0 and 100. Now in India, we enforce the total lockdown. And the idea is if you lock down, there won't be any deaths because of the infection. So we can test the idea. And these here, there are different countries here. They all in the beginning had 0 deaths per million because of COVID. And let's play what happens as the time goes on. So now somewhere there, India is there. So there is 0 death, okay? And as the time progresses, now what happens is many of the countries will see increase in the death rate. That clearly shows lockdown is not working. If the lockdown really works, there should not be any death. So this is what happened recently. Here, the time is per week. As we progress in different weeks, things started moving around. In the beginning, there was not many deaths, and slowly countries started, having more and more deaths. And in some countries, with the lockdown, the death rate per million increased to something like 800 to 1,000. So that shows that lockdown is not really effective. If it were effective, then somewhere there is the India. From 0 death rate, we came to 68 per million deaths after 39 weeks of lockdown. This is the proof that lockdown is not really working. Now, we can show the same data in slightly different way. So I'm going to show that. Here is the picture of in the y-axis, you have the same number, the death rate, number of deaths per million people, and in the x-axis, different colors in different countries, and the color code shows how strictly the lockdown is enforced. So now let's look at the black color, where it is 90 to 100% strict stringency in lockdowns. In India, we had around 92 deaths per million. Okay, the same 100%, close to 100% stringency. In other countries, we had different. See, for instance, in Iraq, it was 300 deaths per million. In San Marino, it is more than 1,000 deaths. So you can see the lockdown doesn't really curb the death rate. It happens because lockdown is a wrong idea. Now let's go one step further and ask about the vaccine problem. The vaccine, the idea behind the vaccine is you have a pathogen like measles virus or a chickenpox or a flu. They all come inside our body. These are all the antigens or the viruses coming in. Now, the body automatically creates an antibody to kill these viruses, okay? But now, if you think that coronavirus is brand new and we don't know anything about coronaviruses inside the body, then we have to create a vaccine. The vaccine should be such that it is a very weak shadow kind of virus that we inject, and the body, after a few days, builds a new antibody to kill the entering virus. This is the idea of the vaccine. But most of the time, we really not able to produce this vaccine because of various reasons. Either this vaccine is not really weakened version of the virus, but little stronger than you go through as though you are infected by the virus. Okay, so there are a lot of problems. The controlling the vaccine production is a tough job, and we are not really good in that. Still, we don't have a vaccine for malaria virus. We don't have a vaccine for H1N1. We don't have vaccine for SARS. We don't have virus for Ebola. So there are a lot of diseases. We cannot really creating this kind of vaccines. And manufacturing vaccine is a multi-billion-dollar problem. Only big companies can do that. And in order to preserve the vaccine, you need to go through hoops, like keeping it very, very cold, or introducing preservatives, and many of the preservatives affect our body. So that is another problem. Okay, now let's go to the next one. Now we have slum. it's actually world's largest slum in Dharavi, Mumbai. In a very small area, roughly around 3 square kilometers, 100 million people live in very close quarters. They are the poorest of the poor, and they live very close. And here, doing a lockdown is impossible. And even asking them to wear the mask is impossible. So far, we have only 4,000 cases and 300 people are dead. That tells me something is really wrong with our assumptions. Now, I will give you another case, which is actually the ship called the Diamond Princess. It had 3,700 passengers, and all the passengers lived in close quarters. They used the same air conditioner, same breathing system. They ate the same food, and suddenly somebody got infected with the coronavirus, and the total number of infected, got increased to 712, and only 12 deaths. So how is it possible if coronavirus is that dangerous and deadly? Now all the people should have been dead by now, but they didn't happen. And similarly in Dharavi, 10 million people there should have been 5 million deaths. It didn't happen. Now come to another case in which, it's a Nordic country, it's Sweden. Population is 10 million, close to Dharavi. We had about 177,000 cases and only 6,000 deaths. In Sweden, they didn't really practice any lockdowns. They had no mask requirements, and everybody just lived the normal lives, and nothing happened here. And that tells me some of the ideas about coronavirus are totally wrong. And then this is one of the articles published recently. They said, why such a low rate of death in Dharavi? Because they are living in filthy conditions. Filthy conditions are necessary for combating coronavirus. This is a very wrong conclusion. But anyway, this is how the media works. Next, let me show you a map of the world where in the last 14 days, there are cases reported. And one of the things in America, you have a huge number of cases. In Canada also, in Mexico, in South America, and in Europe, there's a big blob of cases. And India is also, we have some number of cases, and also in Russia. Now, but look at Africa. There are not many cases. Why is that? That's because one possible hypothesis is Africans have the natural immunity to all these viruses. How come? They don't have these modern conditions of living, and they have ample sunlight, and they are able to combat the virus. Nobody got infected in most of the Africa. Okay, now let's come back to the models of diseases, epidemics. How do they enter into the population, and how do they propagate? So this model is called SIR model, S for susceptible, I for infection, and R for recurrent. It's a very popular baseline model. So as the time goes on, the percentage of the susceptible population comes down, as shown here in this blue graph. And the infections also come down, and death also come down, and the entire population recovers from the disease. This is what it has been observed for many hundreds of thousands of years. And one of the laws that govern what happens to the death is the Gompertz law. It is like a sigmoid curve. Initially, it rises fast and then slows down. So this is what we have observed. The most important thing that we have to remember is this parameter called R0. This is called the propagation or the infection rate constant. So if it is more than 1, then the disease will spread fast. If it is less than 1, the disease will not propagate and it will die down. At any time, the same thing is expressed by this number RT. Okay, so that everyone knows. This is the law that governs the epidemics. Now, what about the recovery? If you look at the recovery rate in Southern Asia, 99.9901% recovered from the infection. So the recovery rate is very, very high. Only in US it is lower. And there are many reasons why it is like that. Okay, the survival rate on the average is about 99.93% throughout the world. So we are really worrying about a very small problem. I'll show you some more graphs. In India, until 14th November, about a week back, the total number of cases confirmed is about 8 million, and the number of deaths is 129,000. Now, what the propagation of the increases in the disease in India, it can be measured many different ways. One effective is doubling time. How many days it takes to double the infection. It has been constantly increasing. And if you take the number of cases, the average number of cases, it's coming down. Now, the replication rate, R0, which I showed in the other slide, it has become less than 1. So the disease is going away in India. Next, let's ask the question, what is the death rate of India every year? How many people die? In 2008, 10.4 million died because of the natural causes, because of aging. And in 2018, 9.76 million died. But our infection rate, as you can see, is very, very small, 129,000. So let us go back and analyze how many deaths and what is the disease that caused the death. So let's go to the next slide. In the next slide, in India this year, 8 million cases, 8 million deaths. Out of that, only 129 due to COVID. So you take the first one, cardiovascular diseases, heart disease is the number 1, 2.3 million died. And then lung infections, the next one. Cancer is the third one. Diarrheal diseases. And so it is nowhere, it's actually, our number is less than, so far, less than kidney diseases. From the beginning of the year until now, only 1.58% of total dead people got COVID and died because of that. And that is such a small number. Okay, now there are a lot of issues with respect to detecting the COVID. This is called testing for COVID. There are 2 different tests normally used. One is called the antibody test. What it tells you is the body infected? Is the person infected? It doesn't tell you infected with what, but it asks the question, was it infected? The second piece of test, it's called RT-PCR test. RT stands for reverse transcription. PCR is polymerase chain reaction test. Here, you can focus on a particular virus and ask the question, is this person infected with this particular virus? But again, the PCR tests are notorious for producing false positives because it is a lab tool to detect the virus. So it can magnify anywhere from 2 raised to 30 to 2 raised to 50 times. So the PCR test always shows you are positive. So if you use either antibody test or PCR test, you will always get some cases, somebody is infected. So that's how our number of cases increases with time. Now, because of all these problems, there are 3 professors, one from Harvard and one from Oxford and one from Stanford. Harvard is in the East Coast, Oxford is in England, Stanford is in the West Coast. They all came together and had a Great Barrington Declaration. Great Barrington is a small city in New York State. And they said, we are doing something really wrong with the COVID virus. And we need to really understand what is going on. So they suggested to all the countries in the world, stop doing lockdown. Lockdown causes so much of harm, much more than the infection. So never do the lockdown. The second thing is the testing and treatment, vaccine, it's all a big problem. These people acknowledge that and request all the countries in the world not to do lockdown. You can read their declaration in the web. Look for Great Barrington Declaration and Google for that, and you'll see what they are saying. So the final question is, how did we get here? We need to get back into a history of human beings. Let's look at what happened 50,000 years ago. You know, we were all living like hunter-gatherers. And what we hunt and what we gather is not really guaranteed at any time. So many days we didn't have any food at all. And our evolution started adjusting for the condition, and our bodies evolved for not having food for a long, long time. Only 20,000 years back, we invented fire, and our cooking started 20,000 years back. And about 10,000 years back, we invented agriculture. That means we found if you sow the seeds, it grows and it gives you more than what you sowed. So it is always a gain in cultivating agriculture. And as you can see, in those years, there were no restaurants, no roads. Everybody depended on rains for the agriculture. And only in 1950, about 70 years back, India had the first refined sugar factory. So the sugar cane juice is refined to make the sugar that we have, the white sugar that we have. Before that, we have only, jaggery. In 1960, in India, in Tamil Nadu, C.N. Annadurai, he made a declaration. He wants to make rice available in plenty. That was his declaration. He couldn't do that, but it was a very good slogan for the government to have. So from 1960 to 70, we had Green Revolution. Green Revolution means you go and turn the forest areas into agricultural land. And you actually, even if you don't have water, you use pesticides to avoid insects eating the grains. So you have millions of acres in India. They became very productive in making grains. We grow rice, wheat, and all the other grains in millions of tons because of green revolution. Green revolution means you have to irrigate, you have to artificially pump the water into the land, and you have to protect the agricultural plants from getting infected with fertilizers and also insecticides, herbicides. And because of these technologies, in the last 30, 40 years, we have food in abundance. This is the case in most of the countries. Now we have restaurants. They are available 24 hours a day. And if you don't want to go there, you can order online and food comes to your house. So in the last 50,000 years, we had a feast and fast cycle. So our food availability was very rare. Only a few times when we kill an animal, we can eat. And then we have to wait for the next kill, which can be few days or few weeks or few months. And also, what happens when you eat? Eating is an inflammatory process. That means our body swells up with a lot of inflammation, digestive juices, and body needs some time to resolve the issues and become hungry again. This is how our body is meant to, but we totally came away from there. And even in the world, we have continuous feasting. We eat minimum 3 times, but sometimes we eat as much as 15 times a day. You never feel hungry again. So that is the root cause of all the problems. Now, you may ask, how is it connected with COVID virus? I'll come to that in a minute. First of all, we have to understand our physiology. Our human body is a hormonal machine. We have hormones controlling every part of our body. We have thyroid, we have adrenaline, thyroid glands, pituitary glands, and we have major hormones flowing in our body. Every hormone has got two aspects. One will increase, the other one will decrease the effect. For instance, insulin is an hormone, and glucagon is the opposite of that. Both are produced in our pancreas. And we have our thyroid hormones, T3, T4, and TSH. All these hormones control how our metabolism is heating up or cooling down. And the third hormone, most important hormone, is adrenaline. How we get afraid and what happens when you are afraid and how do you recover from that. And the fourth important one is estrogen and progesterone. These are all for the human propagation and production. Now, there is an important hormone that has become very elevated during the modern time. That is the cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. And there is another hormone called ghrelin. Ghrelin is a growth hormone. Our body grows because of ghrelin. And then there is the leptin. Leptin is a hormone that tells our brain to stop eating. Okay, and so all these hormones work together in our body to control our metabolism, our digestion, and also to control our immunity. The immune system and digestive system, they are interconnected. So this is a rough diagram of what happens when you put food in your mouth. So you can see food comes there and it goes into the GI tract, and food slowly moves inside. And in the stomach, you have digestive system, acids, bile, and enzymes, and produce what is known as the glucose. Glucose is the energy machine that drives our body. And then once the glucose is low, our pancreas create more insulin. If it is high, the glucagon will be created to control and maintain the insulin level. But there is also a catch. If you eat more, your insulin may create insulin, but it may not be sufficient to cancel all the effects of eating too much. The insulin, excess insulin, makes the cell fat. That's how we get fat stomachs. Our stomach bulges out because the adipose tissues in our midsection, it becomes a bigger cell. So you have bulging stomachs, you have a punch. And that creates obesity, and this obesity lowers immunity. Now, the other path is the glucagon insulin. Also, the part of the insulin and glucose gets stored for a temporary storage in liver. It's called glycogen storage. If you eat too much, you get another symptom called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. This is most of the Indians, at least 20% of the Indians have that. And this disease is very deadly, and people don't know how bad it is. Now, the obesity drives all the other things. You have insulin resistance, metabolic type 2 diabetes, and you have high blood pressure. It creates heart disease, lung disease, chronic fatigue. Even though you have chronic fatigue, you keep eating more because you don't have a feedback control that says, okay, I've eaten, because the leptin resistance, the leptin doesn't get into the brain. And so food satiation reduces. Stomach, so we always feel stomach is not full, and you keep eating more and more. This happens only with a particular food, that is carbohydrate. So this is how, without feedback mechanisms, we have a condition in which our immune system becomes activated more and more, and it doesn't have enough resources to go and kill the virus cells. So even though body wants to react to the virus, it doesn't have the resources to go and attack it because it is busy attacking what we are eating. There is a cytokine storm attacking our body, and it doesn't have time to respond. And it is again, a causative factor is stress. So because of all these complex feedback mechanisms, our body, as we eat, as we become fat, and we have a punch, and we have diabetes, we have heart disease, we are not able to really combat with the new viruses. That is the main disease that is happening. So now, let us see how it all tied together. It began with the destruction of forests. Okay, the forest has a lot of different species, insects, plants, birds, everything lived harmoniously inside the forest. Now, we had this issue of, eliminating hunger. And so we destroyed the forest, and the species, they left the natural habitat. That's why we have monkeys in the cities. And all these species, they end up finally in wet markets. The people eat a lot of, at least in China and Thailand and other places, these wild species, they're all sold as meat. And it creates enormous stress on wild animals. And if people live very close proximity, whatever the virus that these species, different organisms have, like crocodiles and monkeys, and it jumps to the humans. That's how most of the pandemics are created. Now, there is another part of the same thing. We destroyed the forest because we wanted to have ample food. We wanted to have 24-hour restaurants. And we wanted to create abundance of grains. That led to 24-hour eating. And we lost what is known as the interoception. Interoception means you lost the signals from the body telling you whether you are hungry or not. So loss of hunger creates more craving for food, and it increases insulin, and immune becomes overactive, and inflammation creates, you get into a lot of diseases like type 2 diabetes, obesity, PCOS, NAFLD, COPD, and cancer, all these diseases. On the top of all these things, when these things happen and a lot of people are dying because of the COVID, we have a problem with the RT-PCR false positive. So we detect a lot of people are getting infected. That is the false one. We have stress, fear, economic disruption because of the lockdown. And we are afraid there is going to be a second wave. And that is a feedback loop that increases the stress and disruption much more. And because of that, we got into the COVID situation that we have today. So let us ask the question, who are the people susceptible to coronavirus? Number one is, of course, the people who are aged. The second category is aged because they are close to their dying age, and so they may get infected by coronavirus. And then people with large waist circumference. You can check with a strength test. Your circumference in the waist, your belt should be half of your height. If that is not there, then you are suffering from a kind of obesity problem. And then how many number of meals per day you eat? Is it 2, 1, or 50? And physical activity, we don't really go out and do these things. And there is diabetes and vitamin D3 level. These are all the susceptibility factors to coronavirus. And then the most important thing of all is the human microbiome, which controls all the hormones. And we have 100 trillion bacteria, virus, fungi, parasites to control what we eat, how we function, because these mechanisms, microbiome, controls our hormones, which in turn controls our hunger and eating. So the more we eat the right type of food, the microbial species will increase in our body. So that is what we should look for. So now, what do we do now? Vaccine might come, may not come. How do we boost our immunity? It's a long-term gain. One way to increase your immunity is fasting. Don't eat anything for 2 days, 3 days. Your stomach will settle down. It's a process known as autophagy. Autophagy is a cleanup mechanism in our bodies where the cells that are dying, they're all reused to build new muscles. And then you can also do intermittent fasting. You lose weight, lose central adiposity, your stomach should shrink, avoid grains that are produced by our green revolution, all kind of grain, rice, wheat, and all the dals and all, eliminate them, all the carbohydrate. Eat colorful plants, vegetables, fruits. They have phytonutrients. Eat fermented foods. Fats, you eat a lot of, ghee and butter, eggs, take a lot of salt, and eat only if you are hungry. No smoking, no drinking. And then this controls our body. The second part is the mind. The mind needs to be calm. You effectuate that by being kind, loving. You forgive and forget, reduce stress, get into meditation, do exercise. This is called high intensity interval training. You can exercise for 5-6 minutes every day, and that will boost your immunity. And finally, sleep more, be cheerful, and sense your body. All that will help you to boost your immunity. And then you can fight the virus without any vaccine, without any medication, without going to the hospital. So make sure you have vitamin C, vitamin D3, zinc, selenium, and magnesium. You can take the supplements. Now, vitamin D3 is created if you spend maybe 2 hours in sun. You will automatically generate, you don't even have to buy that. Vitamin C, you can get it from, all the oranges, lemons, and things like that. So that is the way you have to fight the virus. No antibiotics, no painkillers, only food. Food should be your medicine. And then there is the other technique called awakening immune system by breathing. There is a method developed by Wim Hof. You can really Google that. Wim Hof is the heavy breathing. He claims that he can cure all the virus attacks with his breathing exercise. You can take the cold baths and then, or hot baths. You can close all your windows in your car and sit in the car in the hot sun, maybe for half an hour, 45 minutes, and you will sweat a lot. All the toxins in your body will come out, and it will boost the immune system. Finally, you need to have some kind of serenity. You cannot control everything in the world. So you need to have the wisdom to know what you can control and what you cannot control. Now, you may think all these things is bogus, but this is what is happening currently in research. If you look at this journal, Immunology Letters, this is exactly what is recommended here. Fast. If you fast, you won't have any effect of SARS virus. So that's been, this is a meta-analysis paper, but there have been quite a lot. These things are well known to the research community, but may not be available to the public. So let me come back in my final slide, the claims. First is the coronavirus. Is it a new virus? Absolutely not. It is the virus that we are born with. Actually, you can find coronavirus in many of the organisms. And second thing is, it's a deadly virus. It's not true. It's just a bit worse than a flu. All are susceptible. That is not true either. Only people with metabolic syndrome that are susceptible. Immunity vanishes. No, Body doesn't have that capability. You cannot lose your immunity. You can only weaken the immunity or boost it. It doesn't vanish. Only vaccines can save us. No, that is also not true. In fact, all the statements here, they are not true at all. Lockdowns are useless. Vaccine is not the end game. Second wave is coming. No. Test if in doubt for COVID. The testing is only 90% accurate, and you may get false positives, and you may get into quarantine unnecessarily. Smoking, drinking, steaming, none of that work. And we may think the timely lockdown saved us. Not true. Lockdowns had no effect. We need a strong antibiotic. No, antibiotics doesn't work for viruses. There is no cure is the final assumption. Actually, that is not. Body's immunity is the cure. Body protects us from all sorts of viruses. And the people, a lot of people, it's not seasonal, and this is something new that has come. No, not at all true. It is a seasonal infection. Every winter, a lot of flu viruses come, and corona is one of them. And it has killed millions. No, not that is true. This virus mutates very, very slowly, and it is almost in its end part of going away. So you really don't need to worry too much. You just maintain your body, boost up your immunity, you will be well off. Okay, that is the message that I want to convey to you. Any questions so far?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. It was really informative and very informative session, and I'm sure all our students and faculties would have got benefited out of the talk. And in the way of looking about coronavirus, you have given a different perspective, and lot of information was there, which will be definitely useful to our students. Now I open the session for question and answer.
Sure.
Now, students, the session is open. So please, one by one, you can ask questions. Yeah.
Sure. So we did everything wrong with the global panic. We should not have panicked. We knew this things happening, and also we locked down. All these things are bad things happened. But now at least we can open and be healthy and safeguard ourselves. So that is my message.
True, sir. Yeah, very well said, sir. Yeah. Students, please open up. You can ask a few questions now. Any questions?
No questions, sir.
Okay. Anybody else?
No questions.
Okay.
No questions, sir.
Okay.
No questions, sir.
Faculties, anybody wants to ask? Okay. If there is no question, then let me invite Roji ma'am, my co-host of this talk, to say a few words and close the session.
Okay.
Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Deepak sir. Thank you,
Yeah,
Deepak
please.
sir. Sir,
Yeah,
am I
please,
audible,
ma'am.
sir?
Yeah, you are audible, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. My sincere thanks to Victor, sir. Really, it was very good, sir. You can control only what is controllable. That is really true.
Huh?
Hello, sir. That is
నా వల్ల కాదని చేసాకి చెయ్యి నొప్పి ఉంది పక్కది నాకు కూడా
yeah. You can control only what is controllable. That was really great, sir. And in this era, Deepak sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
In this era, I've heard of people committing suicide once they know they have COVID. So I think everyone should hear this lecture, sir. It was so informative, and you clearly linked the mental part of a man with COVID, how COVID can be controlled mentally. So really, it was good. We were benefited, and I'm sure that the students also would have been benefited. So I thank this opportunity, sir, to hear to your good lecture. I also thank my co-host Deepak sir, and we all are very thankful.
Ma'am, you are muted. Ma'am, you are muted. Please unmute and speak, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Sir, thank you once again for your wonderful talk, sir. It was really a pleasure having you today, sir. And looking forward to further collaboration with you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, sir.
Okay.
So
bye.
1 minute, Deepak sir.
Yeah,
Deepak sir, the
yeah,
first
please.
year students kindly remember every week Friday we have this expert talk. We'll send the link through your mentors. So kindly get registered. You will be exposed to great people like Victor sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Victor sir. Thank you, Deepak. And thank you, Deepak sir. And thank you, dear students.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good day, sir.
Okay, thanks.